In the last video, we used the Frankford Arsenal X10 as a 9mm case processor. This time, we're going to continue on and do full progressive reloading with the X10 and the Frankford Arsenal bullet feeder. Let's get to it. Hey there, Kyle Shields from UltimateReloader.com. So, as you can tell, I have everything torn down and ready to set up for our full progressive reloading. So last time we were just using the FW Arms 9mm sizing die and a hold down die or decapper, depending on the setup. Check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. It's pretty neat. So overall, it was a pretty basic setup for a full 10-station progressive press. Maybe a little overkill, to be honest. So what I figured we'd do is do full progressive loading this time, which means we'll be processing the cases and at the end of it, spitting out a loaded 9mm round. So I have everything laid out that I'll be using here. So let's waste no time. Let's get this thing set up and I'll show you how it works. All right, we're back. So what do we have for our die stations? Now, I've almost fully loaded up the Frankford Arsenal X10, which I haven't done before, so this is pretty cool. All right, so station number 1, we've got our case feed, as always. Station number 2 is our only empty station. Station number 3 is our FW Arms 9mm sizing die that we used last time for our case processing. Station number 4 is our swaging operation with the FW Arms micro hold down die. Station number 5 is priming with the same micro hold down die. Station number 6 is our FW Arms 9mm expander. So this is our case expansion for pistol. And I haven't used this die before, so I had to look up the setup video. If you look on FW Arms product packaging, you'll see that there's a QR code and you could scan that and it will just take you right to a video. So it's really convenient when you're in the middle of setting up everything. You can just be off and up and running really quickly. So I like that he implements that. It's pretty cool. Station number 7 is our powder charge. Station number 8, just right in between here, is our powder check. And you have to be careful. You can't use every type of powder check die with the X10 if you're using the Frankford Arsenal bullet feeder because it's a really close fit. But if you have a basic one like this one, this is the RCBS powder check die, that will work, but just barely. You kind of have to get an eye line right in between to see it. But I'd rather have it just because why not? And in this case, I figured I'd try it just to see if it'd work, and it works well so far, so yeah. Then on station number 9, we've got our bullet feeding and bullet seating. So this is the Frankford Arsenal bullet feeding system. We've featured it before when we got this press initially set up a while back. And then lastly, station number 10, we've got our crimp. And for our load, we are using Berry's Bullets 147 grain, and that's the exact same bullet that we used last time. So you might be wondering why I have the 124 grain here. I'll get to that later. For our powder charge, we're using 4 grains of CFE pistol, and then our overall length is 1.100. So now it's time to show you everything in action, and let's see how it works. So as you see here, I have everything already run up just for the sake of time. I've already tested everything, ran about, 20 or so rounds through just to see if everything's working, and everything seems to be functioning just fine. So here we go. And I'm not going incredibly fast. At the bottom of the stroke, I am letting a little bit of dwell happen, so our powder charge we can make sure we have a full powder charge and everything's settling in really well. I might need to turn up our bullet feeding speed a touch. Seems like I'm going faster right now. There we go. And I'm keeping an eye on my powder check die right in between here. And it doesn't hurt to do a visual confirmation once in a while as well, just to be sure. Yeah. So everything still is working really, really well. You can crank out a lot of ammo really quickly with this setup. All right, so how about some tips and tricks for setting up your bullet feeder from Frankford Arsenal? I had a call with the guys at Frankford Arsenal before I started doing this project, and they passed along some tips and tricks to me that I did end up using during this setup. And one of them was, do not expand your case mouths more than necessary. So what that means is, in my case, on station number 6, where my 9mm expanding die is, you don't want to flare out this case mouth too much. So only go as far as you need to. And as too far is anywhere beyond 0.385 through 0.387. Mine is around 0.377. And another way to do it is just if you're expanding your case mouths and you can drop a bullet in and it stays nice and firm and it's not going to fall over or tip over when you're going to seat your bullet, then you're probably good enough. But it doesn't hurt to take some calipers and measure it just to be sure, and making sure you're not going beyond that. Because what will happen is that it will get stuck in the case shuttle mechanism and it could cause scraping or damage. So if you see damaged brass when you're bullet seating, that might mean your neck expansion is set or your mouth expansion is set a little bit too far. There's also play in the screw near the bullet reducer here. I didn't have to adjust any of that, but if your bullets aren't falling through, maybe try moving the screws, loosening the screws a little bit and pushing this bullet reducer around, retightening, and see if that fixes it. The shuttle actuator here is also adjustable. There are adjustments here where the spring is, but most of the adjustment you'll probably end up needing to do is here where this ramp is, where this bearing rolls along. And I did have to twist mine a little bit to make sure it's aligned up with the bullet seating die, and that's about it. So when you're setting this thing up, just make sure everything is aligned, but most of your adjustments are going to happen here with the ramp or your bullet reducer. So for 9mm, they do ship with 2 sizes. I'm using the longer size since I'm using 147 grain bullets, but just keep that in mind. So some of the things that I ran into and where I come along with this 124 grain Berry's bullet is not every bullet is compatible. So initially when I set this up, I was using these Berry's bullets 147 grains. They worked just fine. When I switched to the 124 grains, because I wanted to try something new, I just couldn't get them to work. And I kept running into scraping issues, or the bullet's not feeding correctly, or the case is getting scraped. And so I just figured out that the hollow base on these bullets just are not playing along well with this bullet feeder, and that's okay. You know, you can just switch up your components a little bit if you're not getting good operation and try again. And in this case, everything's running very smoothly now. So the 147 grains work well. Any other flat nose type bullets might not collate very well as well. This bullet collator plate is adjustable. There's a setting through 1 through 5. Right now on these longer bullets, I'm set at number 5. So I did change that a little bit because I noticed on my last setup, it wasn't feeding as fast as I wanted it to. And I'm also loading these pretty quick too. So that seemed to help a long way. Also your speed adjustment on the back. So yeah, so if your bullets aren't feeding well, just keep in mind you can adjust this plate. There is a little bit of play in the setup, but that's just how it goes. Almost every bullet feeder I've used requires a little bit of fiddling to get set up and working properly. It's completely normal. As far as the bullet seating die itself, it's straightforward. It's just like about any other micrometer-based seating die that I've used. In fact, that was probably the quickest part of the setup because it's no frills. You just tighten it down till it bottoms out on the tool head up here, and then make your adjustment, you're good to go. So that part was really, really quick actually. It's really everything else leading up to that point. So just go slow, you know, don't get too frustrated, step away if you need to. I had to a couple times, that's okay. Think about what's happening and what is causing it, and then reassess, and then make the adjustments that you need. And then after that, you should be good to go. But do not forget, try different bullets. You know, doesn't hurt to have several boxes of different types of grain of bullets and see what works for you. In conclusion, I really do like the Frankford Arsenal bullet feeder when you have it set up correctly. Another thing to keep in mind is that they do have caliber conversion kits for the bullet feeder as well. So like you've seen here and in our previous video, we're using 9mm. You have options for 38 Super, 40 Smith & Wesson, and 45 ACP, and it simply includes another plate and a bullet shuttle type system with the seating die. So it's very similar setup, pretty straightforward to swap over. And then I also like the FW Arms dies. They're always just a pleasure to use. These dies make the whole operation, the whole press just run really, really smoothly. So what do you guys think? Have you used the Frankford Arsenal bullet feeder yet? Are you going to get one if you haven't? Or which bullet feeder have you used or plan to use? Have you used an X10? What do you load on it? Do you load pistol? Do you load rifle? They should be coming out with rifle calibers for the Frankford Arsenal bullet feeder soon, I hope. So when they do, I definitely want to check that out. Maybe load some 223 or something. So that's all for this one. And until next time, I will see you all later.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.